Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the World Percussion Group Virtual Academy. I'm Megan Campbell. I'm currently acting as Director of Operations for the World Percussion Group Academy. I'm so excited to be here today with Hye Jung. Hi, Hye.
Hi, Megan. Thank you for being here and having me. I'm
Of
excited.
course. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Jihei is a wonderful marimba player, one of the best out there, and a wonderful teacher. So much amazing experience, and everyone that is here today is in for a very awesome session. We are all so lucky to be here with you. I had a great time studying with you last year in Italy, so I know that there will be a lot of great things today and a lot of fun things for us all to talk about. So thank
Great.
you for being here. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you. So, should we start with the video or how does it work?
Yeah.
Tell me, Megan.
So we can go ahead and introduce our first performer. Burke looks very ready. I will bring you on stage. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Burke.
Hi, I'm Burke. I am from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I am a rising junior there. Yeah, we're very close to each other.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to be hearing what you have to say for me today.
Great. Nice to meet you, Burke. Is it
Nice
also
to meet
hot
you.
in Knoxville?
Yes, always. I'm taking advantage of it. I'm hiking a lot, so
Nice.
it's
Good
nice
for you.
sometimes. It's hard too.
Good. So, what are you playing?
I'm playing Time for Marimba by Manure Miki.
Great.
A piece which I reference your video religiously on, I have to admit. So I'm very excited to be hearing what you have to say.
Cool. So, you're going, you finished sophomore, going to junior year?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Let's hear it, Megan.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you.
Is it strange to watch yourself play while you're not doing anything?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what did you think watching you perform?
I. It's hard to see the things that I. It's hard not to see the things that I did wrong, but it's also easy to recognize some of the things that I did well. This video was a little bit of a long time ago. Probably made it about a little less than a year ago. But I worked on this piece for a long time, and it kicked my butt in the beginning. It was my first semester of sophomore year, so it was a hard piece for the place I was at, but I really pushed through it, and I really got a lot of good stuff out of it. So that's really what I see when I watch my video, and I see the mistakes, and it's hard not to, but it's easier to recognize that I was able to push through all these challenges, and it took me so long to get to that place, and I'm happy with where it is.
Yeah, it's difficult piece no matter where you are, but it's impressive that you can do this in your sophomore year. So let's maybe start with about the piece, the big picture ideas, and then maybe we come down to like small details in your video. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the piece. What is Time for Marimba for you?
For me, it is a study of the entire timbre range of the marimba. It's also a study on the form of all this. It's a sonata form in my studies, in my findings, and that's something I find really interesting. So that's something I studied a lot when I actually made the piece, was how to bring out the form to the audience. So it was kind of also a study on showing those things. But that's just in my practice. The piece is like,
great. Yeah.
It's contrast.
I thought you did a great job with the dynamics and some of the really beautiful timbres on the marimba. But what about, can you tell me about the pitch? Is it tonal?
It is.
What kind of?
It's atonal. It uses hexatonic isochords in the first sections.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually wrote my theory 4 paper about this, but I'm just not remembering the details right now.
No, that's great. So you can find those 6-note pitch set everywhere, right? Like it's almost like a puzzle finding of like, ooh, he did that. Oh, on the bass note of the. So I think maybe you can go back, and when you're relearning this, I'm not sure if you will go back to this piece.
I might. I really love it.
Yeah. I think you find this such a rewarding piece. For me, it is. So after all these years of studying, that's why I decided to go back maybe last year when I made a video, was that like, ooh, this is the piece I really respect. And if I can, I tell my students too, like I teach this to all of my students every year, at least once, one person is playing at all time, right?
Yeah.
And if I can hang a marimba piece in my imaginary marimba museum pieces, like this will be definitely hung,
Yeah.
So yeah, like for me, like this piece has a enormous of potential of what at the time marimba players could be, and even now, like it pushes us to think about marimba as something totally more than what it is. So I think when I play this piece, like, ooh, what are the things that I have to do extra to make sure this piece is successful when I perform for other people who has no idea about marimba, they've never seen it before, and they don't know anything about music theory, right? Like they're gonna be like, where's the melody? Where's the harmony that I'm used to, right? So you dealing with just the regular folks coming to your concert, then what? Right? Like, okay, all the things you tell me, the form, the timbre, and the music theory of a hexa, codes that like we know, it's almost like a secret. Like we're talking in like secret codes, right? So then when we are performing, what are the things that do we have to do to make sure this piece come to life?
I'd say body language is a big part of it.
Sure. Yeah, just anything. There's no right or wrong. I'm just like throwing out there work. I'm not grilling you. It was like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think for me that's any piece. It can be Bach, piece of Bach, right? Movement of Bach, or it can be something like this, or even way more crazier. Like this is actually not that difficult nowadays standard of atonal or new music, right? So
Yeah.
when we are dealing with something like this and playing it for people like my parents who are not musicians, like, ooh, what should I do to communicate the things that I appreciate? To start with that, what do you like? So, Burke, what do you like about this piece?
I like the contrast a lot. I love the development section where it keeps elaborating on the F sharp idea thing. The way that it moves after I studied it, the way that it moves through the variations of that single line is so amazing and so interesting and so new. Especially the very beginning, the really rhythmic part. Playing that is also a blast. It feels really good in the hands. I really love the sound. I just love the sound of it. I don't know. I could just go on about details about just parts of this piece I like. I guess I'm not sure what the big picture is.
No, I think it starts with some, the very personal to small things. Like you don't have to, it can be very different set of lists. Like it seems like you have a list of things. So any piece of music that you play, I think it starts from that. Like, what do I like? Or it could be the piece that you didn't maybe know, or you used to not appreciate, you used to not connect. But then after you spend some time on it, like, oh, this is growing on me. Oh, I like this. Starting to like this part. So I was focusing on that, right? Like music is about communicating. So we want to know, as an audience members, what do you think about this piece? You know what I mean? What are you trying to tell me, right? So I think, yes, like there's so much details in this piece. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I would just think about, what are some of the intention from the composer and how can I communicate those things? For me, the first A section, if you're thinking about A, B, A prime, like the first A, like the first 4 pages of the piece, yeah, it's really about that 6-note figure that keeps coming back.
Yes.
But how it's coming back? Like since we don't have harmonies, we don't have sort of traditional melody lines, the things that he's giving you, you're gonna have to try really extra, triple hard to make sure that your intention comes out. Because when we play something everybody can hum along and catchy, after 3 times playing, like maybe you don't have to try that hard. But with things like this, maybe we need to give even everything you got.
Yeah.
Right? To draw people in. So at the beginning, where you are starting, Burke, I saw you start looking at the camera. I'm sure you're recording yourself, but I think the piece actually need to start before the first note, right? Like he says without accent except when it's specified. So he's looking for maybe this ambiguity, this mysterious vibe, right?
Yeah.
So try to get into that zone, the musical being, environment. You can create that. You mentioned, what did you mention? You mentioned your physicality, how you move your body can be part of it. Like, you don't have to fake it. You can, you know what I mean? Like, those are the things that you definitely need to think about, but it can also come from the musical. I'm gonna take.
Oh, she disappeared.
Hye, hello. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try with something really quick. Let's see if, okay. She'll be right back. She's definitely rejoining the session. Well, great performance, Burke. That was amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You did a really nice job with a lot of the things that I heard you discussing with trying to do all the different timbres and everything. So yeah,
Thanks.
awesome job.
I learned so much from this piece. I have so much respect for it.
Totally. Yeah. Hi.
Sorry, I took off my AirPods because it was like bothering me, and I totally lost you. I don't know what happened.
No worries. It happens. Okay, you guys can keep discussing for a couple more minutes. Thank you.
Cool, like it was like buzzing in my ears. I was like, oh, so yeah, I think things you need to sort of think about is, okay, what is this piece? How can I communicate? Right, like
Yeah.
it's not gonna be feel good, hum along from the very beginning. So maybe creating certain way of expression before you begin the first set of the 6 notes, and then
Hmm.
where you're playing, it's really nice. There are a couple things that I will think about playing this kind of music. So we don't have, as I said, like the traditional musical elements, but what we do have is like incredible details from the composers, articulations, dynamics we talked about, and this, hexachords that we mentioned, and those things, what that does, and then because of those dynamics and articulation, it gives us temporal difference, right? The actual what marimba can do, and each player's got definitely very different set of range or temporal dynamics as well, right? Like you definitely have your own. And because of those things, I think it will allow us to communicate this different kinds of energy in the piece. For me,
Yeah.
what like this throughout like the third line, like the accelerando with a crescendo and then coming back, it's really about the tension and release, right? So I think it needs to be more than just getting fast, getting loud, getting soft. Okay, get soft and get slower. It has to be you're actually creating something. Ooh, this, and slowly letting that tension go back. That, or it can be like you can imagine something that tension with visual element. So maybe something is far away, really foggy, and then getting closer, and you can see the more silhouette, more of a form of something behind, and then going back to that fogginess. There can be many different elements that you can imagine, or it can be the smell thing, different kinds of sense, right? Like you go down the kitchen, something really funky and going on, whatever that is, the element of giving closer and getting intense to backing off. So I relate to many different ways to explain to my students whatever you can grab onto. Or it can be a color thing. It can be the pastel tone color to really bold, dark, and maybe slowly getting blurred, right? There isn't a line. So I think there are so much of those in this piece. That's why I like this, because it pushes us to be a really great musician, thinking about this. It's not just a bunch of notes getting fast and loud and slow, soft, but with those elements of the he gives you, the puzzle pieces. I am trying to create something to make people feel something uncomfortable and release, right? Like I think that is the power of music, and you can do that actually without tonality. Right? Like it's harder to do. Yes, people kind of like, I already don't like it, the first set of things. But you can present in a way that you can own the space before they get in. You'd be like, they kind of like getting the tippy top of their, leaning forward to the audience, like, what is Bert gonna do? What is he doing? Like, why is he playing so soft? Right? Like, we can have the audience be curious and kind of going through different kinds of journey than big boom. Hey, like we're done party. Yeah, starting grooves. There is no grooves, right? There is no meters. So I think he wants you to feel really uncomfortable at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's not like, no, he gives you 6 notes in the quintuplets. So he really said, like, don't give them any accents. Don't give them any groupings. So you just like hovering,
Yeah.
right? So you kind of have to own that mysterious. And then when you get to the mezzo piano, the triplets, maybe a little clearer. And then go back. And then the first serrando, tension and release. And then when we have those set of like runs of the triplets, I think those are the first moments in the piece where, ooh, we are moving ahead, right? Like you're going ahead. But be careful not to rush the tempo. It's just a crescendo. I think I may be also rushing it, but I didn't mean to on the video. It's the sensation
I
that
remember
we
that.
are going, we are going ahead, but without touching the tempo. And so that when we go one bum 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 da dee dee da, it just feels go back to that same tempo as the beginning, right? So for me, like you play the first climax really nicely. There's like explosion of the color, the brightness, right? Like he says he wants the mallets to be, when it's soft, it's soft. When it's warm, right? Like something multitonal or two-tone-ish mallet. So I think you can be bright and go. I saw you moving towards the end of the bars being right, like so that we can be bright. Yeah, I heard that. But then when you come back to da dee dee da dee da, those are the set of the notes. So check those notes, because I heard some A's, pitch A, but there's no A, right? Like da dee dee, it's G dee dum, the fourth note. So I think we play the game there. Da dee dee da dee. Yeah, bum bum. Like you need to make people jump out of the seat when they're falling asleep, right? Like that's what I. There aren't much of like linear lines of following, but these are the moments that unexpectation is the great sort of another element in music, right? People don't expect for you to get right up. So we're gonna go somewhere else. So I think those elements, I think you can definitely bring out more when we're talking about this piece. So I think Megan is giving me a flag. Before you go, any questions?
That was fantastic. No
any other questions about this piece or any other things, the techniques, the roles?
I don't think so.
Great.
I think I'm okay.
Yeah,
I appreciate the opportunity to hear from you.
Great. You sound great. I would just keep working,
Thank you so much. I think I am going to attack this piece again.
Yeah, you should. We all should. It's great.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Awesome job. Thank you so much. Yay. Awesome. That was so wonderful. Thank you so much for the feedback on that piece. Okay.
I could go on like 2 more hours.
Yeah. That's a good one to talk about for sure. Jake, are you ready to go? Yes. Okay. Hello. Good to see you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm in a cabin right now. I have this. If you want me to play anything, though.
Great.
Nice. So would you like to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you'll be performing today?
Yeah. So my name is Jake, and this fall I'm going to be going to Eastman for my master's. And today for you, I'm going to be playing Burritt Variations.
Great. And where are you from, Jake?
I grew up in Columbus, Ohio.
Cool. Where did you do your undergrad?
I did it at Capital University, which is in Bexley, area, which is pretty close to the city of Ohio. So yeah.
Great.
Nice, thank you. Also, your video file was very large, so my computer would not let me download it. The way I'm going to do this one might be a little bit weird, so just message me in the chat if there's like anything weird that happens with this video.
Okay.
But it should work.
Okay,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, Jake. Tell me. So, looking at yourself play, was it this recorded recently?
This was recorded January.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's been a minute. What are some of your thoughts?
So, because this was like one of like the biggest piece I've like really ever worked on in my life. It was and like because I was going to use this to prepare for grad school stuff. I wanted to kind of dive into every single little thing that I possibly could find from like the very start of like of learning this piece. And I'm not sure if you saw the score I had for it, but it was pretty marked up. I had a lot of stuff
No.
written.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I had a lot of stuff written throughout everything from me, from other people. And my approach with this was to show as much of my ability and as much deep understanding of every single little thing within this piece as much as possible to kind of showcase that. Whereas now, kind of being separated from that whole thing for a while, I think there would be a lot I would change about it now. mainly I would kind of tighten a bit of uh, the rhythms more, because I think I play a lot of the piece really open, because like that's just what um, people told me to do. It's what made sense to me. I didn't have a whole lot of experience anything outside of that, so I think now would be a a time for me to kind of explore that more.
Mm-hmm.
Also, working more with tone and color, being able to showcase that more and highlight some of the phrases I'm trying to do, because I don't think all of it came across in the video super well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but um, yeah, like I think it was an important place for me to be at, because mallet stuff has always been really hard for me, because I only started once I first got to I only started around COVID, so like I've really trying to been working really hard to kind of get my chops to be able to even play anything.
I couldn't tell. It was amazing. Really.
Thank
Been
you.
you started like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't know when that was.
COVID was
Five.
it was like March of like what happened is like March of 2020. I had a thing to practice on in the basement of my house, and I just would wait. I would all right, it's time for me to figure out how to do this. Yeah,
Right?
so
No, I couldn't tell. I mean, it seems like
okay,
you're
well, good.
super comfortable around the instruments.
Yeah,
Some of the sticking choices I would never do for myself, or I would not recommend. But you are able to do things. That seems like it would not work for me. But I was just like, wow, that's impressive that you can do that. So there are
Thank
a
you.
couple moments like that. But yeah, I think it's always good to reflect on yourself when you're looking at whether it's the video like this for grad school, or video you made with your iPhone, or sometimes I do a lot of audio, just voice memo on my iPhone,
Yeah,
coming back to it, like it's so useful. But yeah, I think all the things that you are concerned about, like, yeah, I think those are the good things. But maybe we can talk about the piece. So when you say the big picture stuff, like, a lot of musical stuff, the phrasings, so maybe we can get into the piece. What are those are, right? Like in Vinyal's music, what are those? Because I think it's actually very specific. Vinyal has a
right,
very certain style and language, musical language, that once you get it, like you speak fluently.
right,
And throughout
yeah,
all of his percussion music, that amazing percussion music that he wrote for us. Um, but yeah, I think it's really important now, because Vinyao is becoming one of our favorite composers. He has a lot of great music for us that we should understand how to speak this, how to understand the style of his music. So yeah, like tell me what are the things are in here in Vinyao's music.
So I think the biggest thing I really took away, which I think I should also add, like even kind of being away from the piece, I still feel like there's so much more I really can like learn from like what I'm trying to say, and I think it's gonna take me bringing back the piece, trying to study the score more, and like looking more at the other things he's wrote to really kind of get a huge grasp on it, because it
Yeah,
is like
it is a
it
lot.
is a lot.
But Jake, I'm asking more of like, okay, if you're explaining to your friend who doesn't play music, who doesn't know
Okay.
percussion, who doesn't know vinyl, what is vinyl? What is verdi variation made of? You know what I mean? Like maybe start with like top 3 things that comes into your mind. What are those?
Yeah, I think the biggest things is, one, the theme the way he melds the theme throughout the different variations is really a key thing in what he does.
Mm-hmm.
I think the groove in the entire piece is one of the most important things about it as well. And I think the use of voicing is another
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really big one too. Like especially on the fourth one, where there's like three independent things coming in at the same time, two in the right hand and one bass in like the left hand. Like those are like I think like the like to someone who doesn't really understand his style or like what we really do, like it's I think one of the main things that they would kind of notice about it. Even if they don't super really understand what's going on. So
Yeah, no, I think those are the things that I think you need to remember. Like I often ask myself that same question. Like I'm playing new piece of music by brand new composer that I never, knew before, and I go and listen to all of their music other than this piece I'm working on. If they have written, if it's non-percussion, it's even better. And just starting to get into their musical language. Like what is this person? Who is this person? What is this person made of? What are they into? And just researching them, So things that I think influence Vinyau's music is this Colin Ancaro, the composer, one of the composers, play piano's music, right? Like that's
right.
where he gets all this crazy idea about counterpoints. That's why his music is so hard. Like I asked that question, like why is Vinyau's music is so hard? Because I think he's pushing the boundary what we as a percussionist and marimba player can do physically.
Right.
Because it's sometimes maybe it sounds better meant to be a machine, like, right? But I don't, if Vinyao actually has amazing midis, like if you actually hear his midi, when he creates midi, it's actually, he puts so much time, sounds really good. It's not like a computer at all. Like he shapes it, the melody, but even still that something is missing, right? So I think of that, like even all of his like ensemble, like the percussion chamber pieces or the solo pieces, it sounds pretty good when I hear the MIDI. Like, wow, okay, my goal is there, but that's not it, right? Like that is the starting point. That is my sort of the baseline. I need to be able to do that. So for me to go from there to somewhere, as you said, like, oh, I feel like stretching the time here, right? Like they will allow you to really argue, like, I really feel like this is the biggest arrival point of the piece and I'm going to need a little bit more time. You can argue yourself with that, So going back to the big points in Vinyau's music, counterpoints is super important. And as you said, that's why the voicing is hard, because so many things are going opposite direction. Like one voice is going that way, slowing down, and meanwhile this is started eight notes is going steady, and the bass line is going actually speeding up, going down, right? Like it's actually going all over the place. So yeah, it is challenging, and those are the challenges that he's giving you, and understanding that, following up each line, like how can I serve those lines? Not only vertically, but also horizontally, like able to for me to sit down and be like, whoa, I feel dizzy because their right hand is doing that and left hand is slowing down. Like you are in a moving car or something.
Yeah.
And second thing is the layer, not only the voicing of layer, but the articulation and dynamics, right? Like he gives you a lot of like those tenato marking. He says it's not like traditional tenato marking. He actually gives a whole description of what it means to use tenato marking in his music, right? It's not accent. For him, it's very important to sort of people to understand how to execute those tenato markings. So articulation is super important. But for me, what's sort of the main thing the Vinyao is really good at, and that's why the percussionists love, is going to be the rhythm. You and I both love Vinyao's because he champions on rhythm. He understands the rhythm.
Yes.
I am fascinated by it. Like when things are speeding up, he already did all the modulation, mathematical, problems for us. Like, whoa, it's super cool. And then at the end of the 2.5 measure, it meets, right? Like, wow, so satisfying. That is the goal. Like, those are the moments, Jake, you're feeling, I need more time, right? So I think rhythm, he champions on rhythm. So I think that when it comes down to rhythm, that's what you are referring to. Like, oh, I feel like I gotta go back and restudy with the click track that he gives you, because I think he's done a lot of work for us. Like he actually is very careful people not taking too much liberty because all these counterpoints are done rhythmically, mathematically, right?
Yes.
So I take a really, you know, be honest with his rhythm. I think then everything will sort of organize back into that. So
Okay.
yeah, I think the rhythm is his jam, you know.
Okay.
And the other thing that you mentioned is the groove. Yeah, like in this piece, there's a salsa moment. There's so many moments where it's like groovy, right? Like all of Vignal's music, he kind of gives you that. When I was younger, your age probably, I used to think that these are like, actually when I was your age, I found Vignal's music, variations, and I thought, like when I got to the groovy section, I was like, wow, it's kind of like a, dance, like disco, or even of recent his works, Stress and Flow, like, sounds pretty disco-y. But as I get older, I think I found much more into like, maybe it should be more folky, right? Like after all, these are based on melodic component, right? Like as you said, the theme is the melodic. So I think maybe dealing the groove a little bit less vertical and thinking more of that horizontal growth. I think that will maybe help us. But some of the transition you did really well. So let's maybe since you do have the marimba with you, maybe we can play some.
Sure. Yeah.
Transitions going to variation 4 was really amazing. So Jake, I was really impressed with your variation 5.
Thanks.
That's the moment where I thought that you're doing everything. I think you can take advantage of it. If I were to learn this with your sticking, I would just go in and play. It's just that they are fighting. Like can you lower your camera so I can see?
Yes.
Yeah.
That
So what we're gonna
keys.
yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
Oh, yon. So what we're gonna do is really taking advantage of the left hand. Boom, 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 boom. Can you go right on it?
I kind of forget the notes.
Oh, do you have the music? Is it F, F, okay, never mind. If you don't have the music, I thought you were able to do it. But those are the moments. So I would just go and play the right hand. Really, really soft. And the left hand.
Yeah, I don't super remember the notes. I can do the if it would help. I think I know that part.
Yeah, we can just sit down. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are the moments that where you can really, you did a good job of the variation actually 4 in that showing the each time zone. But I would just make sure that even the sticking is the same thing at at the end of the variation 5 going into 6, same thing, like your sticking is amazing. Like you're doing everything with one hand. Like that is super cool. Like you work so hard to make that happen so that the other hands can be much freer, right? Like I think that you did the right thing you actually stuck to the sort of the voicing line, but I'm not sure if you're actually taking advantage of the high notes, like the tenor tones,
Yeah.
the higher, and then the rest of the middle range one, and then the left hand. There are also two voices here, you know.
You're right.
So
Yeah.
I think that you actually did all those basic things, but so what? You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah.
you did that so that you can actually say musical, interesting things for us to grab onto.
Yeah. I think the reason why the high notes didn't speak as well is because one of the biggest things that was told to me throughout this was when I was doing anything like I was always too loud with that note. So because I would try to like pop that one a little bit, but then it would be like so like what ended up happening is I just kind of lowered everything and made it all quieter. So I think it was like kind of like a chop issue where like now if I was going to try it again, like I would really try to make it like really kind of like make it two separate things. But yeah, so like that's kind of why like the higher note was a little bit quieter. It wasn't because like I just wasn't really super able to do it that at the time. So,
I think all the things actually it's not that it wasn't that section, but it's later on when the tenor tone marking, the top notes are moving, like they are their own each individual sort of the line. But yeah, I didn't get it was picking out, so you did a good job coming. But in general, Jake, I think you can actually relax a lot more. Your playing is accurate. Your playing is very well controlled, right? Like I think that's how I see it. But in terms of like sort of expression, like I think those are the moments where you work so hard, you so that your wrist can support you in the fast and sort of quick. But you know, the parts that actually we do have for free without working so hard is these big muscles, right? To create bigger, warmer sound. And I think you can maybe experiment with the different kinds of articulation, different kinds of sound that will in this piece that needs, right? Even the groove section, da dum bum bum, ba dum bum, ba dum bum. Like I think that playing every single small subdivisions, maybe thinking more of the bigger breath, so that there are different layers, different. If it is a grooves, if I play dun 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 dun, it's not groovy, right? Like you're playing.
Yeah.
So I think that what we are looking for in this piece, if you go back, I would say is the sort of the having that sort of breath and that sort of more of non-Morse code. Like where we just play is like he wants you to be like a Morse code. Like you're doing that.
Yeah.
But the rest of the piece, I think it needs to be much, much humanly possible, slowing down. Mathematically, he already done that. Or is it the groovy or the beginning, the theme, bum bum bim bum 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 dum bum bim ba dum bum. I think it needs to be much more stickier, much more of not vertical.
Yeah.
So if you can, if you have some time, Megan has not jumped in, so maybe you can even just play the theme for me.
Yeah. Here, I'll move you over a little bit. Can you see that? Yes, you can.
You are like a mirror image, so your right hand. Anyway, it's okay.
Oh, weird. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. So can you just sing for me, Jake, the very beginning theme?
Da 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 bum ba da bum ba dum dum ba dum ba dum ba dum bum ba dum bum ba dum ba da dum bum ba ba dum bum bum ba dum bum bum ba dum bum 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 ba dee bum bum bum
Yeah,
ba da
cool.
bum dum.
Awesome. Even from your singing, I think I get very different lilt. So I would like to have more of that. Like it's very much of too percussive. Like
Okay.
we already do that so well. Ba ba bing ba da 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 dee dee da dum bum da da ding da da. But I think we're using it. Ba da ding ba dee da da ding da dum bum da da dee da dee da dee dim ba dim. Can we try? Just
Yeah.
to amuse me. Extra, exaggerate, even though you're not gonna ever do that again in your life.
Okay.
Cool, awesome. That was better. That was better. Even more, even more. Like you don't have to do ever this again, but as if this is, it's a theme. It's a catchy tune. We're gonna play this a million times, but every single time it comes back with a million layers or different variations of rhythmic funkiness, we need to be able to hear this. We need to be able to recognize this. So
Okay.
give me something that is almost like trademark of how I'm going to play this at the beginning and then keep this, and every single time it comes back, people are going to remember this, or they'll be like, "Bing! I do remember."
Got it.
Right?
All
Like,
right. Mm-hmm.
try one time. Cool. And this, try to maybe different time zone. So one to one to they're very much of individualized, but maybe you can even do whole theme as one phrasing, 1 meter. Da
Got
dee
it.
da dee dum da da dee da dum bum. Cool.
Hello, Jake. No.
He was playing so well this time.
I know. Okay. I think Jake's at a music festival right now, so their Wi-Fi might be a bit spotty. So I am going to try this, and we'll see if this works. Oh. Okay. Is it okay if we move on to the next performer and then
Jake has more question. I will sort of we can finish with that, but
we can
yes.
have him come back at the end? I'll send him a message and let him know that we're gonna move on. It's about time, anyways.
Yes, you're like yes.
Yeah. Okay. Noah's here. Noah's ready. Oh, Jake's back. Wait,
Oh, hi. I don't know what happened.
the connection dropped.
We don't
Oh.
have sound, no?
You guys
Weird.
have
Oh,
about
okay.
5 more minutes if you'd like to keep doing what you're doing, because that was really great.
Yes, please. That would be awesome.
I don't have sound.
Oh, really? Wait, you're not able to hear? Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's a no.
Okay, and you can't hear me either. Okay. That's super weird. Let me try this. And then can you hear me now? Hi. No. Okay.
Should I sign back in?
Maybe for 1 second. Leave and then come back and see if that works. Yes. Okay. Great performance. It was so nice to hear you play
Thanks.
in person. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, Jihee's back. Hello.
Hello.
Is this working? No. Maybe your AirPods. Oh, hold on. Um,
Let me log out and then, come
okay.
back.
My AirPods were the reason that your video was stopping because they decided to pick up the live stream whenever they felt like it and pause the video. So
Oh
maybe it's
wow.
AirPods.
All your fault. It's your fault.
It's all my fault.
It's fine.
It's not my fault. It's these guys' fault. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this
Oh.
better?
Yes, I hear
Yes.
you.
Okay,
Yay!
great.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
Let's do more live playing. You guys have like 5 more minutes or something.
Okay.
Cool. So starting off here, pretty much like ever since I first started playing, like I really looked to you and the way you play, because I think the way you play is very fluid, and it I think looks just so like nice, and it represents whatever you like do really well. So I've always wanted to ask you, like, how did you kind of approach learning that and applying it to your playing, and how can I kind of approach that in my own?
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. I think that that's something that I try to teach to all my students, is to make sure that don't fight with your body, physical sort of the tension
Mm-hmm.
versus musical tension.
Right. Yeah. And like that, I think is like the biggest problem I have is the two are kind of the same right now, and trying to get away from that is really hard for me.
So where you can study is through, like, I teach my students from very early on, like freshmen. We do a lot of timpani playing, and the timpani playing that I do, there are a lot of continuous motion, right? Like, so one note, we don't play everything staccato, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, like, it's actually because the timpani is such a resonant instruments. It's actually the easiest instrument to sort of grab onto that sort of continuous motions in your playing.
That makes sense.
And marimba playing is the same thing. Even though when you're playing the most crazy things, like you don't go cha cha, but like it's not separate. Like if you think that way, you are building this physical tension for every single note to stop. But unless the music actually requires for you to be short and separated, like a lot of music, I think, just like even though it looks the really rhythmic, like it's a theme, right? Like so I think the way, like, of how I think of it naturally, I think is much more lyrical than rhythmic. Like
Right.
inside, I'll be counting da da dee 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 da 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 dee da da, right? Like that funky rhythm, but I'm gonna give that lift almost of like 3 as a lift, and tenuto is gonna make note length sort of longer than my
Yeah.
da 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 pop, pop, right? Like so
Yeah.
making into your musical intention is going with my sort of musical line. But yeah, I think that as long as you're aware, Jake, do play a lot of timpani, see if that helps you, because I think something about it, playing even just one drum, like working on your stroke, working on your sound quality, that's where I start, because I think that I do a lot of comparison and development in this timpani playing as like sound development, like
That
just
makes sense.
nice and warm, just general sound. Like I'm not talking about like 10 different kinds of strokes or articulation on timpani, but just like warm, forte, resonant, and lush sound. And
That makes sense.
if you can do it in the fifth on marimba, you should able to sort of have the same general idea of sensation. So another, the last thing I will give you is that often we percussionists don't imagine the sound quality before you trigger the notes, before you play the notes. But any other musicians that I talk to, they know what kind of sound they're gonna want or produce, or in their head, in their mind, emotionally connected. They're like sort of upbo, they're breathing sort of gestures that or something. I think maybe has to do with not able to be in contact with the instrument, like actually not touching the instruments. We feel maybe a little bit more distant, right? Like we have these mallets, and our instrument touches our mallet, but we don't physically touch the marimba, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Maybe that's why. So develop that touch, develop that connection with the instrument, and think about the sound, how you want to sing a lot, Jake.
Okay.
How do I want to sound like? You know what I mean? Bum,
Yeah.
bum, 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 but that bum, bum, right? Like it's very
Yeah.
different characters. Like, so developing that and see if you can actually get closer to what you imagine in my little head. It's like, oh, do I really want to sound like that? Do I really do sound like that? Like reality check,
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
think,
Yeah. That makes
and I
sense.
do go back and forth, like, oh, well, in my head, that sounded really great. But in reality, it doesn't work on marimba. And you can change that. But I think first place is like, just have an idea, sound idea, how you want to play certain thing. It's the same thing. Even the triangle note on the orchestra, like you should have pretty good idea what kind of color you are adding to the whole orchestra,
Yeah.
right? Like you can be just like, ding, I played the right place, right time, well, sort of right dynamics, good enough. Like, yeah, it's going to not add anything, actually going to be sticking out. But if you really have an idea what kind of sound you want, it's going to add so much more to that sound.
That
Same
makes
thing
sense.
in
Yeah.
the solo. So I think it's not just the movement that you think about separately, but think about what kind of sound you want, and then working back way.
That makes sense. Okay. Awesome.
Cool. Good luck, Jake. Have
Cool.
fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's great that you have a marimba in a cabin. How amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, good to hear you, and hope
Oh
to see
yeah.
you soon. Yeah.
No, yeah. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Great job, Jake. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't hear
Goodbye.
you, Megan.
Oh, you can't hear me?
What's going on? Sorry.
No. Wait, here. I'm going to bring Noah. Can you hear Noah?
Noah, can you hear me? I don't
Yes,
hear
I can
Noah
hear
either.
you. I can hear you.
Is it my computer?
I think your AirPods might be picking it
No.
up. No?
Um,
No, that
Let me see.
was happening with
I will
mine
turn
earlier.
off the Bluetooth. How about
Yes, that might help.
that? Do you hear me?
Yes.
I don't hear you.
Can you hear me? No.
Okay, I'll be back for Noah.
Okay.
Gosh.
Well, Noah, how's your day going?
It's going really well. Me and
That's
my
good.
cat are enjoying
Aw.
the stream. Yeah,
Your cat's name is
Elliot.
Elliot. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
named after Elliot Carter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's
Aw,
named after Elliot Carter.
so cute. Can you hear us now?
Yes, Elliot Carter,
Yay!
the cat.
yeah, that's my cat.
Amazing.
So cute. Well, Noah, would you like to introduce yourself? Talk about the two pieces you'll be performing?
Yes.
I have two. Okay.
Well, hi. It's nice to finally meet you. I saw your clinic when I was in my undergrad at UNT, and that was amazing. You played Time for Marimba and Dreaming of the Cherry Blossoms. It was like such a great concert. But yeah, I got my
It
undergrad.
was a great concert.
You're there too. That's right.
Yeah, we were both there.
Yeah, we were everybody. I got my undergrad at UNT, just graduated last year, and I just finished up my first year of my master's at Texas A&M University of Commerce.
Great.
Yeah, and today I'm going to be playing Reflections of the Nature of Water, the first and the fourth movement, and then I have the Courant from the second violin partita in D minor. The first video is a little older. I was preparing that for my grad auditions, and the second one I just recorded a couple weeks ago.
Great.
Awesome. And if it's okay with you guys, I would like to play the first video, and then we can discuss that one, and then when you're ready, maybe move on to the second one.
Yes.
In like 20 minutes or something, and then we'll.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yay! Great. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. I tell you a small secret. It's not really. I made a video of this piece and it's coming out. I made it last year. It's coming out this week. So you
Oh
see.
wow. No, I remember when I think I was finishing recording it or like auditioning for grad schools. You posted a snippet of it on your story and I was like, "Oh, we're playing this piece at the same time. That's crazy."
That's right. Cool. No, I love this piece. And I think that you did really nicely. Let's go from the first movement. Crystalline. I think that where you playing it, it's got so much like personality and care. I really enjoyed it. Like I think it was very individualized by Noah, and every single gesture had like its meaning. So I thought it was really nicely done. It's just something really intriguing about each gestures. But question for you, like, what do you think about this first movement in terms of meter and tempo?
At first, when I first started learning it, I was very metronomically accurate, I think. And as I became more comfortable with the piece, I think I let that slip a little bit. I think I was more focused on resonance, and I was more focused on I guess I was more focused on the ratios between like the note clusters rather than the actual like objective meter. And I just had to think on this yesterday, and I was advised to think about that the opposite way, like a lot more strict. And I think when I revisit that piece, I'm probably gonna approach it in that way again. But yeah, at the time when I was playing it, I think I was more focused on just the ratio in between each gesture and just trying to emphasize that, but not thinking about like the objective tempo or time.
Yeah, just curious going back if you can keep all the good things that you have in the meter and the time. I think that it'll be funny how restrictions in music will give you, you know what I mean? Because I think the proportion wise, you find it incredible in this very first movement, how the different section, there are 3 sections, right? I think it should all feel very slightly different each time, right? And also just the first very gesture starting off from the downbeat. I argue with my students often. Play the like as if it's on the downbeat, because that everybody does that, right? Like, okay, you're playing the downbeat, and now play 3, 4, whatever that is, right? Like, and why would he, Druckmann, out of his mind, do that? It's all handwritten, right? Like, why doesn't he write on the downbeat if it all doesn't matter, right? If it doesn't matter where the meter and times, why does he give you you know, I think when we play like 16 notes off, or the 8th note rest, or something going from double piano to, you know, mezzo piano, I think that's maybe small or rival. I don't know. You did do that. Like, you did play different dynamics, but I think the time, it's funny when you put on the metronome, how much it will give you a sense of directions rather than everything just sort of being its own. So even 9/8 bar, 1, 2, like that last gesture, you kind of have to play fast and soft. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of put it there so that like it becomes the sort of the resonance to the role, you know? So there are other questions that you're gonna run into. Like, ooh, like when I try to do this, you know, when you try to do this, like there will be other problems that you're gonna run into. And I think that those are good when we play music, when it all feels like comfortable. I know that I'm not doing something correctly, or it's like, you know, something is off. Like, why is it so easy? It shouldn't be this easy. So I think that you can maybe use this as guidance. And you know what? There are times that where you're gonna be expressive against the time. Oh, I'm gonna stretch time because this is yum da da, the climax of the piece, or da 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 da, like whatever the two climaxes of the movement. Like, of course, you may argue like, I need a little bit more time. Like, probably I would say that doesn't sound like out of time. That feels like it's the right amount of time, you know. But I think that I really actually do like this. I really don't like handwritten scores, but I really do this one because there are so much details, or in the role, how the sort of the dynamics matches each one. You know, I think it kind of gives us appreciation of him going out of the way. Why did they start the whole thing with a rest? I think that is like the question, like what kind of breath, or how should I show it is the rest, and what kind of rest is it? Is it soft, or just, you know, relaxed rest, or is it going to be more anticipation of, you know, I don't know. So you need to find like maybe 3 different ways to play that rest that you agree with, right?
Yeah.
And then, but like, I mean, he could just write, right? Everything on the beat. Why would he go, I don't know. So the little things, and just, you're right, like it's all relatives, even the dynamics, going from double P to mezzo piano, right? Like, or triple P to mezzo piano. There are 4 different levels. It's huge, actually. So all those things, I will just think about that, you know. And because it's written in sort of the 3 chunks, I would also think about the differences for each one of them. So when the second one comes back, boom, that's different, right? The A octave, that came from your climax, the first climax. It's maybe the leftover. Boom. And mezzo forte, first one, mezzo piano, second one, piano, right? Like it's the bounce, sort of chain reaction, you know?
Yeah, they kind of converge for a second and then separate.
So how would you play that? That is such a new idea, right? Like in this piece, when I learned this, same thing as Time for Marimba, like it doesn't have something that you can hum along with a melody, or, you know, 1 5 1 7 1, you know, harmonies. Like, so how would you express something like this? So I just divide into different elements in the piece. So here we don't have melodies, but we have gestures, right? The materials, like compositional, like materials, gestures, resonance, and then there is those notes, bum, bum, bell tones, or whatever you call. You can name them. You know, I name them, but you can name however. So in first section, those are the elements with rest, right? Like those 3 elements with rest. And the second section, we have this bell tone sort of interrupts, right? And then we don't actually get the full repetition of the first section. We get only part of that, right? We only get part. But the resonance with the bell tone is growing towards the actual climax of the whole piece. It's even bigger climax, right? That is the true climax. And then the last section, what is new, Noah?
What do you mean? Sorry.
In terms of the material wise, do you see, or is it exactly the same as first and second section?
No, the spaces or the ratios in my head at the time, the ratios are slightly different. I don't have the score directly. I have it in another tab, but I know that the spaces between each like note cluster are wider, and it's a little more how do I explain it? Like more distant, and a little. I don't know. I wouldn't say sad, but I would just say it's a little more distant and
yeah,
a little more like fleeting away.
Yeah, so I will find those like actual like facts. Da di da da. Those gestural figure became rhythm. Da di da dim bum. The very last phrasing. It's a rhythm, not gesture. Right? Like, so that's new. That gets introduced in the third section. So I will just, when I play that, it's new, right? Like somehow, and then we go back to that. So I think even though there's 3 times gets repetitive, each one of them gives something very new idea that gets corrected. So, just find those elements in the music that will give you, maybe only you get to know, Noah, or you and me now get to know, but how you sort of express that, how you bring that into your playing, maybe audience may be like, "Oh, is it new? It's not butter, or it's not right." The resonance is very, very not there in the third section, right? We don't even go there, right? Because there's no climax actually coming down. So I think that, as a performer, it is okay to like have your own secret ways of looking at music, and that gets developed into, ooh, this is worth of communicating, or you know what, this one is just me and the music, me and the marimba. It stays in this room. I'm gonna do crazy experiment and see if it's worth of sharing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, oh, a little joke. It's just me and you. Like, you're probably not, maybe the composer didn't mean it, but I really like this moment. That's okay too. You can keep that. But in this piece, the structure is really, really clear. So I will just make sure that even though it sounds to, people who don't have score in front of them, seem random, right? Like, maybe it's not so random. Maybe it shouldn't be random where I play, right? Like, it's very exact, right? Like, so I try really hard to, not that, you need to show your time when you're under resting, that's not what I'm saying, but like you create this, I said, like really beautiful each gesture, now fitting into the framework that Druckmann created. I think then it will be really, really amazing. You see, oh, this is what you are missing. Like, sometimes we love pushing the boundary, getting out of the box, but you need to know where that is. And then pushing that, but I think if you just do it like, then I don't even know if I'm doing how much is correct or how little, how much is too much, right? For us, in music like this, it sounds, when you hear it, like it doesn't have a meter, it doesn't have a time signature, it doesn't have a tempo marking. Actually, it does. So I will make sure that you try. Now, go back to that. The first movement, let's go back to the fourth movement. Yeah, like, I really enjoy that, Noah, how relaxed you are. It's gentle, swelling. I think you gave the nice approach to that. Like it's really hard, right? But you are very relaxed and da-da-da-da-dum, but even that was like really open. And but when I think of this, because it's a binary form, right? Like the two sections gets repeated, right? In the first section, very first part of the first section, dum ba dim bum bum. When you do this, I mean, left hand is doing what? Can you tell me what is left hand's function?
It's an ostinato.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool, messed up ostinato, but it's it rhythmically dum ba dum ba bum 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 bum. It's cool. Like I thought you did a really good job of that, but it's ostinato, and I kind of think that is my ostinato there is almost like think as my surface of water, and my right hand is sometimes rise above the water, sometimes go under the bum 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 dun ding dun dum bum bum, right? Like so, I kind of think as like it's flowing together, and that's where I think that gently swirling is coming from. It's more like water. Those two are dancing together down, and it's going up and down. It's never just up here. This is a snare you're accompanying, and I should be the melody here. Like actually, those two things combining two elements together will make it interesting. But in terms of the dynamics, I think it needs to move a lot more, the right hand. So see what you like. You are doing a good job of creating two lines, but I think it was much of like two lines. But sometimes it should be blurred. Sometimes like what? Where did it go? Right? And then it merged back on. So I think the magic here is just like, ooh, this blur of the colors. I'm not really sure what's. And then when you go to mysterious, actually, the two hands are working. Meow. Two hands are working together, going towards the climax. That changes. It's not no more of this, like aimless. This actually starting here, mysterioso, to paradaradam, just one single line going ahead. So I think that even within one section, you can create a contrasting idea of how the music is changing.
Yes.
And then going back to that. Does it make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Cool. Any question there?
I was wondering how you would approach, because you mentioned the binary form of the fourth movement, and I think the thing that I struggled with the most in terms of interpretation was re-entering like the recapitulation section after the first like flourish. I took it as like more I don't know how to explain it. It's just a little more, almost as if like the stream gets faster, like the water's moving a little faster, or the water's a little more agitated. I was just wondering how you would interpret that second half of the fourth movement, like how you would differentiate that between the first section.
Yeah, and I asked the same question, right? Like, so just like the first movement where we are looking at it, like, it gets repetitive. What's different? Does the composer give me any indication? And he does. He gives you different dynamics. So I wouldn't necessarily, you're right. Like things are moving. I heard it already once before, right? And even the climax, da-da-da-da-dum, going into that, it gets really fast. But it gets a little bit more agitato. And things are moving a little bit quicker. Like there is less material gets repetitive. So yeah, I think that you're right. Like it doesn't get completely, we don't go back to the beginning piano. We come back to, we actually are, instead of being piano starting left hand, it actually goes to mezzo piano and then mezzo piano, right? Like, so we don't go back to the beginning. It'll be kind of, I think, too less of energy at that point, right? Like we're going too far. So yeah, those are the indication from the composer ooh, maybe it's okay to have a little bit more sound. And then your top of the climax, top of the dynamics, little bubbles, little swells gets bigger too. Like those little bum, 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 right? Like, so I think that is also the indication. And yeah, things get a little bit more concise in the second time, right? Like it doesn't get totally, but ending the coda gets a little longer. So yeah, I'm with you. Like the dynamics should be bigger. You need to get a little bit more agitato without pushing the tempo.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go to Bach. Yeah. Megan, can you play Bach for us? She's here.
Sorry, it's taking a minute to load, but yes. It will load in 1 second. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Let me see if it works this time. Tim warned me this might happen one day, and it hasn't happened yet, but now it's happening. Okay, I will pull it up 1 second, and then we'll be ready to go.
It's okay. No, where are you right now?
Right now, I'm at my apartment in Commerce. So I'm living out in the big country right now.
Oh, cool.
Okay, we're ready to go. Thank you.
Do it. Looks great. Nice. Cool. Yeah, it sounds really good. I mean, playing Bach is so music is so subjective, right? Like even when we are talking about music, yeah, Bach can be played in so many different ways. We are actually taking music that's not even written for us and playing on a totally different instrument and trying to make it work into your voice. So yeah, I think for me, you have nice sound. Like that's the first thing that is really important to me. Like, do you have good sound quality to pull this off, right? Like I'm not talking about it needs to be sound like string, like that's impossible task. But like as a marimba, like just like different kinds of certain kinds of like the tone, the warmth and resonance and color. Like I think you kind of have the right tools for this movement. I will ask you question, since you are playing so well, it doesn't seem like that hard for you to just pull this out, just maybe next time when you play something like this, maybe try, your wrist motion is working really nicely, but I kind of hear as this dotted rhythm, it gets a little bit too vertical because we are playing percussion instruments. I wonder what are the ways to make it even longer and even, I think actually the string players, they would say completely opposite. The articulation is really hard. The rhythm is really hard. But for us, those come naturally. So we need to actually think about things that we are not good at. This instrument is naturally not good at, right? Like maybe helping the longer sound so that it doesn't decay so short, right? Like, so we have a very different, we're coming from very different places when we're talking about phrasing with the different instruments. So I don't know, any thoughts, Noah? Like if I were to ask you, Noah, how can we make this even much more longer and less vertical? What are the things that would you do?
I would probably just, I guess, cushion with the arm a little bit more, maybe like more crown of the mallet. I had an issue with those dotted eighth 16th rhythms. I had the issue with those like being too washy. Like I like the articulation of those and the enunciation of those was like a little intentional on my part. I don't know. I think as I was recording this or like getting ready to record it, I was like those Bach people out there are gonna like hate me if I don't like differentiate the difference between like a triplet pickup note or like a dotted 8/16. Like I thought the difference between those rhythms were really important. But what I would do to, I guess, kind of make it not seem so like vertical and strict is just experiment with time and then experiment with decay, like maybe less front to the note, just think about more sustain
Mm-hmm.
in that way.
Yeah, no, I think I actually really like the character of those static rhythms. But I think the easiest thing, the first thing I would do is running notes. You know what I mean? Like those, you can actually maybe do more with those notes if you are experimenting with different ways to play. Like, ooh, maybe I don't need to play every note the same way. Do more of contour of those lines. Like just it doesn't have to be so complicated. Just little dose of like, what if I just follow the natural contour of this line? I feel like you're like fighting. We all have in us, like when we're playing marimba music, something like this versus snare drum etudes. You know what I mean? Like everything needs to be even. Like here are your moments. You don't maybe need to fight that urge, right? Like maybe you can open up the beginning and, like it's hard to sort of generalize without picking very specific section, like how you will phrase certain things because it'll be so out of context. But I think in terms of like ideas of, if you were doing something less strict, like what are the sort of the tools for me to have, so I was, if you the rhythmic value is really important to you, I will just go ahead and mess around with the running notes.
Oh yeah, okay. I see more of what you were asking now. I do think that time could be played with a little bit more. I think that's one thing. Like listening to the recording after the fact, I wish I would have played with time a little bit more.
I mean, it's always subjective. Like if you did too much, I'd be like, Noah, you messed up your time. What's wrong with your time, right? Like so I don't think it's like your time was too strict. Like it was just like different ways to experiment. And if I'm talking, it'll be very slight, right? Like if you do too much, somebody's gonna be like, oh, who told you to do this? Like it's so subjective. So for me, it's just different ways that will make whatever you're trying to do with this certain things, certain movements, certain element to come out. But like it's also important to have the balance. Like for when I play Bach, I try not to be so romanticized about things because I think that the Baroque quality should be there, right? Like so, if you're gonna do fudge with the time, like it will have to be really important moments. So once again, like you kind of have to argue with yourself, like, is this really good? Why do I want to roll this chord? Like I asked that question, like, is it because it sounds cool or it feels cool, or I heard somebody else do it, or should I just play straight? like I don't know. I asked that question, like, or is this something, sometimes I cannot find it. Is it because it's a special chord in the harmonic progressions? Like, ooh, those are like German six chord. Like, I gotta bring that out. That only happens once in this whole thing. Like, but sometimes I don't find that reason. Sometimes like, oh, but I really like this chord. It's just regular four chord, and I really want to bring it up. And I argue, and I was like, I'm still gonna do it. I try not to, but every time I get there, I want to. So I sometimes I kind of let one of those two things go. But I think it'll be interesting for you to kind of see the harmonic progress of things and finding those very special moments for you to be expressive, giving yourself excuse to be expressive.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you, Noah. Anything else?
No, I don't have any other questions. This was so helpful. Thank you so much.
You sound great. Everybody sounds so good.
That's a great
Impressive.
clinic today. Yeah, thank you so much, Noah. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got one more performance today. Layla, are you ready? Okay, yes.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you
Hello.
again.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good,
Y'all.
good. Where are you coming from, Layla?
So I'm currently a music education major at the University of Texas at Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
So hence the y'all, I guess. I don't know. But,
We're all from the South. That's okay.
Yeah.
but yeah, I need to fix my camera. But I submitted a piece called Samsara, but only a small section of it. So the score I sent in is like kind of cut to what I just played. So it's kind of in the middle of the piece, and yeah.
Great. And
Awesome.
Layla, what did you say your year was?
My year?
Yeah, what year are you? Music ed?
I guess technically fifth. I'll be finishing up my like classes and stuff. So I just finished my fourth year.
Great. Awesome. Let's hear it.
Were you wanting to play Samsara today? Okay, this was marked Samsara, but I think.
Oh, sorry, it's a caption thing. So it's like.
Oh, it is still correct?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Megan. Yay! It's hard. I don't know this piece. It's tricky. Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me about this piece.
So this is a a fairly new piece. I believe it was 2020 or 2022. It was for the Edition Spitzer composition contest, and so this one won first place. And it's written by Fabian Otten. It's about it's about like some concept where it's about like the cycle of the ego and like letting go of like things in order to reach like a point of namaste in your life and stuff. Sorry, that's the best I can explain it. But
Yeah, no, sounds cool. So maybe we can talk about like two different sections in the piece. How we can reach the next step and playing this. So the first section we played the astronaut. I wonder. I mean, you are doing a really good job. It's so rhythmic. But
I think your microphone got a little bit weird.
really,
Um, Yes, it's going
Oh.
like in and out. Oh,
I
that's
can't
better.
tell if it's my laptop.
No, it's not just you.
What's going on? Tell me. Should I sign out and sign back in?
Maybe, or is your Bluetooth off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then maybe sign out and sign back in. It's
Okay.
okay. It's just a little bit weird.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much. So sorry.
No.
Tim tells me how to prepare for these things, but then it's still scary when it happens, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Great performance. I really like the section you did. That was really great.
Thank you.
Hello.
Is it better?
It's a bit better. Yes. It should be good.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you. I'm so sorry.
White noise. No. Sorry. Is it okay, Layla?
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, I think maintaining the left hand in a point where it's almost like second nature to do the right hand like something amazing, right? So like when I say like the ostinato is being background, but also that's what makes it really later too, like in the piece of bum, but that's really tricky. So I think that when you practice the left hand, I will make sure that is it still better? The left hand. Megan, can you help?
It's just going kind of in and out. It's super weird. Are you on a laptop right now? Maybe just make sure that it's on like a solid surface, or I don't know if you're leaning. Like sometimes I think the microphone is like somewhere in there. And then it should be fine. But it's really mostly okay. Just every once in a while, it seems to be going out.
Okay.
This is all good. Yes.
Sorry, let me see. I turn this off. Yeah, I hear the noise. Anyway.
Yeah, it's all good for now. Yeah.
Yeah, interrupt me if it gets too much. I will sign back in. Cool. So I think just making sure that, when you practice the left hand, we want to make sure that as if you're driving. Like sometimes when we're driving, like we don't care. Like we don't care. Don't put me up there. But it's something very natural, right? Like, oh, I know how to use my arm, when it rains, I know which button to press, like things like that. It's just becoming so you don't have to like freak out about little things. So that, or drinking water, you know, from your hand to your mouth. You don't have to think about, oh, where is my mouth? So I will make sure that left hand is super comfortable, so your attention can go 80% your right hand to your right.
It's happening again. So sorry.
Yeah. Could it possibly be the noise reduction option on the settings?
let me sign in on the different, other than Safari, maybe.
Yes, Google
Okay.
Chrome fixes almost everything.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Very nice.
Yeah.
Sorry for everyone watching this live stream back at a later point. That's okay. So what, if I can ask you, what made you decide to work on that piece, like specifically? I don't remember if she asked you that question today or not.
Well, it was for my senior recital, and I would often play super hyper tonal pieces, and so my professor was like, "You need to get away from that," but I didn't want to jump straight into atonal. It's like I need to ease into it, so I picked Samsara, and also I really liked the theme of the piece because I feel like sometimes the ego can get in the way of progress, and so it was kind of like a reset.
Totally, that's awesome.
How is it?
So much better. Okay, we're ready to go. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Megan. Great. So then, when you're playing this Dolce, da-dum, ba-dum, bidi, da-dum, bum, the melody line, like maybe your attention should go way more so that we can create something really special. So, Leila, can you, you played it, like it seems like it's not, I don't see any technical problems or challenges that you're going through. At this level, I think you should like aim for, okay, I can play this down, but what's next, right? Like, how can I get better from here? How can I play this piece even more special? So you understand, like, okay, I can do these two difficult things laying on top of each other. So question that you need to ask is like, what's more important between those two lines? I think you know the answer, right? Like ostinato melody. So can you just sing me that line, the right hand, the dolce part?
Yeah. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-dum-da-da-dum-dum-dum-dum.
Cool. Yeah, it's really singable, right? Like it's almost like a lullaby, right? Like it's very calm, and maybe where you sang it, it had a really nice phrasing. I wonder if we can do what you sang for me on the marimba. So if you're playing da dum bum, but because it's a percussive instrument, it's going to be heard as very rhythmic, bum 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 bum, right? But we want to sound how you sing, yadam badam badadadam, badadidadadidam, right? Like, how can I be more lyrical? I think that is the question that I will ask myself. Like, how can I make this as if it's a song? And then same thing when the one hand roll comes in, you are doing one hand roll fine. Like I don't think you need my help with that. But since you are already doing it, ba-dee-dum, ba-dee-dum, ba-dee-dim, bum, ba-dum, bum, making into that. So it's almost sometimes when we are introducing this new technique, difficult, challenging technique, one hand roll, it sort of break us from thinking about the long line or thinking about why is one hand roll there in the first place to maybe make this note longer, resonant, rather than interrupt, right? But we get so bothered by this technique. Brrr, ba-bum, brrr, ba-bum. I actually will say your 100 is really good. Just relax so that that can sound like your singing voice. That can sound like resonant, sustained. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So it seems like you have all the tools in front of you. Like you learn the notes, you practice your one hand roll, But now maybe you can think about the next step. What am I doing with this piece? How can I say this in a way that, is what it deserves, with the intention of the piece, as you told me at the beginning, oh, you should have very clear line and melodic line that I need to serve. So my 80% of attention needs to go to this line, and thinking about how I will bring this differently.
Okay.
So I will practice if you are learning this now, I will just practice the hand separately. Because you can do the left hand, right? Like just 100%, 120% giving that line and create something really you are happy with, and then putting it together slowly. See if that can stay. That's your goal.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're going to the next sort of I think we skip around, and then when we get to the second sort of section that you're playing, like 90. Yeah, those are really great. Like I will make sure that Layla, like those bottom notes, like those. Once again, your hands are moving fast. It's impressive. But what will really impress me is this is very much of a Chopin piano etude, right? Like there's a lot of moving notes, but there is melody, right? Like on top of that, how you will treat that melody is going to be the key for playing this piece, playing that section. It's agitato moment, but how would you bring the melody line? Or is it just part of like afterthought sometimes because you're so busy playing all the notes? I would say maybe, those fast notes that gets repeated, it's not as important, but the moving notes on top is going to be really important for me to hear. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So I was a bit like 50-50 on the, I guess, like the octaves on the right hand in that section, because I feel like that's the melody. But I wasn't sure if it was like
Which measure?
well, I should have had my score up 1 second.
I see the octaves at 110, but I was referring to earlier section, 90.
90. Yeah. For that, I was kind of not sure if it was really bring out the top note or try and equally bring out the octave, because it's like the octave A on the first measure at 90. So would you just bring out the top note, or would you try and bring out?
I see, when you say octave, it's the right hand octave, that note A, 2 A's. Yeah, I think it's like those chords. If you're playing dum ba dum bum bum, right? Like that's the chord. So the right hand, yeah, you're right. Like it's the right hand I will try to bring out.
Okay.
That's the line. But instead of playing those line dum ba da dee dee dum, the same, like it has a slur, it has sort of the life as a group, and I will just try my best to group them.
Okay, thank you.
Right? It's not just that it needs to be twice as loud as than your left hand, but the musical character has to be very different. Like this is ostinato, like it's just serving the harmonic and rhythmic and timbral thing, but it is repetitive, bottom parts. And yeah, I think that when you get to 110, Layla, like that's really seems like I haven't heard the whole piece, but it seems like that whole page is like climactic, right?
Yeah, the whole piece is about 10 minutes long. So I didn't want to submit too much.
No, it's great. But I'm asking, is this like sort of the big moments of the piece?
Yes, this is like the second one in the piece.
Okay. Yeah. So you playing really like there's a lot of wide range like you're playing, but just making sure that you maintain good sound quality. Sometimes we get so busy playing those doubles and then playing all this, it gets really tense, right? Like the music is tense, yes, but maybe our body doesn't need to be so tense. When you tense up, your stroke gets really downstroke, rather than open. So I would just watch out for that for here and bottom of that page, like
Okay.
117, like just still relaxing and producing big sound rather than getting intense on your body position, because it's already hard. Like, so try to play this when I say this, it's easy for me to say, like, don't tense up, but like it's really hard. Right? So I would try to actually, if that is the case, which is the case here, play really slowly, like twice as slow, and see if you can get full stroke. Sometimes you don't have time to give a full stroke when you're this fast, right? Or this loud. And see if you can maintain that and sort of having that sound quality in your ears before you can speed back up.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Any questions, Layla, for me?
Honestly, Jake asked the question that I had in mind earlier about like your performance, presence, and like your motions when you play. So, but
Yeah, I think that in this piece you can do a lot, Layla, with that. So even with the very beginning, like try to do a lot of connecting motion. There shouldn't be any short staccato motion, right? That I can think of in the beginning. So try like the right hand separately, and sometimes it would not be possible. Like sometimes you kind of have to go help with the left, or sometimes you have to do other things. But I think you need to kind of think of, oh, I am, in this musical environment. I'm going to do my best to create this such a dolce and sweet moments as if I'm singing on this instrument. Yeah.
okay.
Great. Thank
Thank you.
you. Um, hey Megan.
Hello. Great job, Layla.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I was just popping in. I didn't know if you guys were finishing
Yeah,
up.
we're finishing up. Is everybody left, or is there a question for me? How does this?
Noah is here. Noah, I will bring you on stage, but I don't know if I have any more questions. I think there were some great ones asked already, and I feel like that was such an awesome session. A lot of really great feedback. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry about this, computer noise thing. I don't know where it came.
Oh,
It happens all the
sorry.
time.
I do have a question, I guess.
Yeah.
So I asked someone earlier, like, when you are starting a piece, do you like to like sit down and break everything down and analyze it like right from the start, or do you like to figure it out along the way, like play it first and then try to like figure out like the intention behind it or the
Mhm.
melody and stuff?
I guess I do a lot at the beginning, because at the beginning when you are learning the notes, it's pretty slow, at least for me, right? Like, so you have a lot of time to think about the piece rather than just like going and learning. Like, because even you are learning from the, let's say, first measure, the process is very slow, right? So it gives time for you to kind of give, okay, maybe I need to, why is it slow? Like sometimes I get stuck. And then I'm like, oh, because I don't maybe speak the same language, musical language, as this composer. And I need to be sort of be in that country that I'm trying to speak the language of, right? So I try to be immersive with the music the person wrote as much as I can. And that really helps. And if the composer wrote many other than percussion, I try to listen other than percussion. And then if there are percussion pieces, marimba pieces, it's helpful. But try to get out of there, And if that person bio says, oh, they're inspired by this, or sometimes in the program notes, oh, it's written for this person, or it's dedicated for this reason, or whatever, you can find about that piece. I get really obsessive about it and research. And then looking at the piece, sometimes it may not come right away to be clear, like what kind of structure this is. So, if sometimes it's very clear to me, sometimes it's not. That's okay. I get patient, impatient, like, oh, I don't understand this. With the time for marimba, it is still very much of puzzling, like, oh, I still finding the new way of doing things. Or Druckmann, like, oh, I found this new dots that he did. Or I love it when the composers, old schools like that, like finding the mistakes of composers, like, oh, not not that there is a mistake, but like, oh man, it's missing a dot, or is it a dot? Scratch the score. Like I don't know. Like I try study and find out as much as I can, and then later on, with those layers of work, that you personally get attached to it. I think that's the final step, where sometimes I don't necessarily like the piece that I get assigned to. Even now, like I get asked to play specific pieces. It's very rare for me to choose repertoire. It's very, it's not always the case, but when it does, it's amazing. But sometimes it takes a while for us to get used to it and appreciate something that that composer created. So I need to get to that really quickly. So I'm trying to get there. And as I said earlier to one of the students, like, yeah, start small. Start with, like, Leila, you said, like, the program, the why, the story behind the title, right? Start there, how you can make a personal connection with the piece. And I think that then I think it becomes built from there. Like, oh, I really like this section because it reminds me of this. Or, I really connect with this section because of the chord progression. Or I really like this, can be one-hand roll. Like I've been working my one-hand roll for ages, and this is moment for me to shine. How can I make this shine? So it can be small thing that we can make this very personal connection with the pieces that brings, I think, special elements to your performances.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys. It's been so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. So nice to see you too.
Yes, you too. And really quick, Noah, did you have a question?
Yeah, just really.
Okay, we got one more.
Yeah,
So I just had like a big recital, and I'm doing a bunch of recordings this summer, and now I'm getting ready for DMA auditions. And I think one of the biggest things that I've been focusing on in my practice is like consistency and reliability. Like I practice to be comfortable, right, in order to execute how I need to when I need to do it. I was wondering what you do, because you perform a lot, and I imagine you're in a lot of different situations where you might not have the most ideal warm up, or you might not have the most, the ideal warm up time. What are things that you do in your practice or while learning a piece to kind of establish that consistency where you could just like drop a hat and go and play really well?
That's very rare. Depends on what it is. We all know how much we have to work to get there with a certain pieces, right? Like I may feel like, man, there is a piece that there is a, because I'm much older than you, Noah, and done this many years. There are several pieces where I can show up and play in my sleep, and it'll be okay without, working 10 hours 3 weeks before that, just because I play these pieces for like 20 years, right? Like there are pieces like that. But I also play a lot of new music that requires a lot of leading up to preparation, right? And I know what it takes to get there. So I guess it is sort of matter of knowing yourself. Like, I know what it takes for me to get prepared, for me to order to play here. Like it's usually like here, and then I play about here. It's very rare that I prepare here and I play like here. Well, it doesn't work. Well, I know myself. Some people might say that, like they prepare like, and they eat something, really delicious. They're really happy. Like, it really doesn't. Like everybody gets nervous. Those things work. So it's about there. So I guess for me, yes, it's a consistency, but also as you do more, the preparation time gets shorter. So if I get a new piece, it's like I don't, unless it's like crazy hard, then I have to say like, okay, I need to clear my schedule for this to make it successful. Or I can't do this right now. I need to push it back, right? Like as a professional, like I know what I have to do to order for it to be successful. But yeah, just knowing how much time you have and how you can carve those out. And I have that sensibility of like, okay, I know myself, I need this much time, right? To order to be successful. And that time used to be this time, but now I can do things much quicker, much more condensed way because I have so much experience doing things, playing a lot of different music. But it's still a lot of work. I don't think you can skip on it. But that consistency, even now, like yesterday, my husband was like, "Are you okay? You warming up like 3 times?" Because my body just didn't feel good. I'm practicing and it just stiff. So he's just checking on me like, "Are you okay?" I was like, no, I'm okay. Like I'm just like can do things. It's not as fluent. Like maybe my back is hurting. I don't know. So I'm just doing warm-ups for like 30-minute chunks. He thinks I'm going mad, probably a little bit. But I think at that moment, like that is the best thing for my hands rather than playing things over and over again and making the same mistake. Like I just need to move my hands, going back to that piece. So you would know what that sort of, you will prescribe yourself what you need at the moment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, oh, just sometimes you fight for it. Like, I don't want to do warm-ups 3 times a day. But now I'm just like, well, either that or hurt myself or, being stiff and not able to play. So it's not that bad. Just do warm-ups, until it feels good. Or maybe it feels good tomorrow. I know that as well. Like, I know it's not what I'm not doing this just for today. Like, practicing kind of goes right. Like it's uphill, but day to day, like sometimes you go up, sometimes it goes down, right? Like it's just slow, so it gets frustrating very quickly. But I think over time, like I sort of expect that. So I have like really good days in a row. Like, man, something is wrong. Why is it so good? It shouldn't be this easy. You know what I mean? Like it's a struggle, like even now. So just being patient and doing things, a lot of repetition, but not to lose the inspiration that we talk a lot about, like what to think about, big picture, right? Like, or thinking about different kinds of images, like different senses, right? Like we need those because a lot of hours we do a lot of repetitions. But in the back of the head, you need to know what kind of sound do you want, what kind of taste you want, what kind of energy you want to create. Those things will drive the repetition less boring for me. Otherwise, I think repetition kind of gets after a while, like you kind of tiptoe. It doesn't get better. Like your goal has to, like your inspiration goal has to match your musical goal and your repetition. Like I don't mind repeating 20 more times until I get all the notes and also aligns with my musical goal. Then it seems really fun. right? Like it's okay. 3 more times. Let's see if I can do it. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's still a struggle. That's a good question.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're on the same boat. Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. This was so awesome. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you everybody who showed up and played. It's been awesome and nice to see you, Megan.
You too. And for everyone watching, our showcase concert will be in about 30 minutes, the first WPG Academy showcase concert on our YouTube. And we will be back tomorrow. Thank